everyone. This is 1 Million Cups here in Madison. I suppose we start off these days with asking, has anyone never been to 1 Million Cups before? You have not? You have not? Okay, great. Well, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. A brief overview is 1 Million Cups is a organization that aims to sort of bridge the gap between entrepreneurs in a community and the community itself. Folks like yourselves, other small business owners, freelance folks, people just interested in what's going on in the community. We attach you to would-be entrepreneurs or current entrepreneurs. We basically, I often tell the presenters, we allow them to harness all the knowledge that you have to help them make their enterprise go smoothly. So that's what 1 Million Cups is. Let's give it a go and see if I can remember all of our sponsors. We have Crescendo Coffee, who provides the coffee. We of course have Field 59, who live streams and gives us a video for the presenters every week as well, which is awesome. Old National Bank for supplying the funds for our coffee, and then the library for letting us use this wonderful room every Wednesday. Is that it?
That's it. 4 for 4.
Sweet. I have no real announcements. We've got a few folks interested in joining the organizer team since Dominic has departed. Not departed, that's very morbid. He's very busy with work.
Doing well. He's doing very well.
Yeah, I guess that's it. My name is Michael. I'm a software engineer at Healthfinch here in Madison.
My name is Diana Pastrana. I am a workspace consultant at a company in Middleton called M&M Office Interiors.
My name is Megan Peebles. I am a senior clinical affairs associate at Exact Sciences in town.
I'm Tara Grace. I'm a business banker at the State Bank of Cross Plains, specifically working with startups and SBA.
Steve Clyde, co-founder of 32 Auctions, a platform for hosting and managing silent auction fundraisers.
Kurt Peterson, the other co-founder of 32 Auctions.
Seth Braddock, CEO at Kilter Rewards, a mobile fitness accessibility and incentives platform.
Andrew Daniel, I am a co-founder at Medisoft Solutions and a mobile developer with Kilter.
Howdy y'all, I'm Christopher Patterson, CEO of Medisoft Solutions. We are a software development company here in Madison focused on mobile apps, web apps, MVPs, and we're looking hard for something in the blockchain space.
I'm Max Reutstein. I'm a sophomore at the university and an intern at Starting Block.
I'm Chandra Miller-Feenan. I'm the Director of Operations and Programming at Starting Block. Can I make a quick announcement?
Of course.
Sorry. January 31st at 1 p.m., Starting Block is holding an event about a report card on the startup community here in Madison and Milwaukee. We're bringing in Tom Chapman. He's worked with the Startup Champions Network. And he has a metric of we can look at how do we value the health of our startup ecosystems, looking beyond just venture capital money or investments or number of deals. So please, if anyone is interested in that conversation, it's 1 p.m. January 31st at Foley and Lardner. And I can send you the registration information if you want to as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Trent Fita. I am a student at the University of Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Matt Dang. I'm learning web development and data science, and I'm looking for a product role at a tech company.
Hey, I'm DP Knuten. My company's name is Collaborator Creative because I collaborate with a wide range of companies and individuals on everything from custom writing to what I call nonfiction branding. I'm also the co-author of a book called Rotoma, the ROI of Social Media Top of Mind, that I wrote with the ubiquitous Spencer X. Smith.
Hi, my name is Josh Helling. I co-founded a venture-backed startup a while ago. I got acquired, worked with the acquirer for a while, and I'm now looking for whatever my next project is. So my background's in product, engineering, and operations.
Bob Pope, research analyst, WEDC.
My name is Lee Lazar. I'm a commercial insurance agent with Associated Agencies out of Chicago.
Ryan Ladota. I'm the community manager at Industrious Madison.
Derek Marley, consumer strategy and analytics at Old National Bank.
Raul Rao, Old National Bank.
John Byerly, I have experience in finance and accounting. I'm new to the area. Pete Cabby with Merrill Lynch here in Madison. Good to see everybody.
Matt Smith, I'm over at 100 State. I'm trying to launch a startup B2B SaaS in employee engagement.
Hi, I'm Shannon Flash. I'm a project manager at WPS.
I'm Travis Human. I own Stray Cat Bicycles, which is a consumer direct bike company based here in Madison.
I'm Derek Gebler, founder of Field 59 Video Solutions. We work with media companies for their online video needs.
Good morning. I'm Lori Carlson, owner and operator of Madison Greenbox. I did want to let all of you know that I am possibly interested in selling my business in the next few months. So please, if you know of anyone that might be interested in a nice turnkey business, please let them know about me. I'd appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Mike Booth with Enterprise Systems Group. I'm a technology solutions specialist. This is my first time at the Million Cup, so I'm just excited to learn more about it.
Have fun. My name is Mo Cheeks. I lead business development for a local big data quality and analytics company called Miosoft, and I'm also on the Madison City Council.
Dan LaCloche. I'm a content marketer.
There you are.
Great. Well, welcome everyone. It is my pleasure this morning. If anyone has not seen Stranger Things or is otherwise unaware of the overhaul that D&D and other tabletop games are taking, you'll learn about it this morning. And so it's my pleasure to introduce probably the two coolest names in the room, Trezzy and Quigley, for Roll for Guild.
I can go by Treasure, that's all right.
So, hello everyone, I'm Quigley, and that is my CTO, Trezzy, and our company is Roll for Guild. Roll for Guild is a company building tools to help cultivate and grow the community around tabletop role-playing games. Now, this includes games such as Pathfinder, Shadowrun, 7th, and the one you all know, Dungeons & Dragons. What you may not know is that this community is growing and more popular than ever. From 1980 to 2014, 20 million people played Dungeons & Dragons, which is just one rule system out of over 100. In addition, we're seeing it more frequently in shows such as Stranger Things, Community, and The Big Bang Theory. And there are also popular figures who play, to name a few, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Judi Dench. The initial problem, the problem we have, or the problem all players have, is despite this growing community, it's still hard to find other people to play with. And this is due to an unfortunate stereotype that people who play Dungeons & Dragons are weird. Admittedly, we're a little quirky, but if I share some personality traits with Elon Musk or Steven Spielberg, I'm okay with that. So we realized our initial solution didn't go far enough. It was the first step in solving the problem. That was finding other people. We built a tool simply so that groups could find, or players could find other players and form groups in their local community. So we realized this wasn't enough, and tabletop role-playing games are all about storytelling, okay? The GM, the game master, the person who runs the game, spends on average twice the amount of time planning the game as they do running it. An average game is 4 hours. That means a GM invests 12 hours a week simply on running a game. Yes, so we're building tools so that GMs can build the world more easily in which players write their story. So, across the top 3 rule systems, those are Shadowrun, Pathfinder, and Dungeons & Dragons. With the information available, we're able to estimate that there are over 1.5 million players. About 1 in 5 of these is a game master, and if we're able to capture just 10% of these people in a paid subscription model of $15 a month, then we can generate nearly $500,000 in monthly recurring revenue. However, we do have some competition. For instance, Roll20 is an online platform for meeting in groups online and playing online. There's also Donjon, which is a suite of tools beloved by the community for game masters to generate some content. There's also D&D Beyond, which is a limited tool set put out by Wizards of the Coast. And then Roll for Fantasy, which is a new endeavor, which is tools for GMs to do some basic world building, not generation, but world building. So what we do, most of these are focused on online play, whereas we're focused on bringing people to the table. And now Trezzy is going to ask about our ask, or talk about our ask.
Sure. So with Roll for Guild, our goal is to build this community, right? We're taking a community that already exists and trying to make it easier to continue to grow. So to do that, we need a lot of help. Our main ask is that we need engineers to come help us out. Right now, it's myself, Quigley, and our marketing person, Alyssa. But we need engineers because Quigley needs to go out and be a CEO and build the company, and I need to help the engineers build the product. If you know anybody, any engineers that are looking for work or are interested or especially passionate about Dungeons & Dragons or any tabletop role-playing game, send them our way. That's one of the biggest helps that we could get right now. We're also looking for advice. As much advice as you can give us all of your advice. We'll take it. We want advice. I don't know if you got the idea, but advice would be nice to have. If you're interested in chatting with us, you can shoot us an email at founders@rollforguild.com or catch up with one of us after the presentation, and we'll be happy to give you one of our cards. Let's roll for Guild.
Now ask away.
I have maybe a starter question. What phase are you all in right now?
So for a while there was a landing page up on rollforguild.com. We launched the new site on January 1st, and we're releasing our group finder, re-releasing our group finder later this week.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you guys used any of the competitor sites, and what do you think of them personally?
So Donjon, some of the most beloved tools for generating content, is sadly outdated. It was originally built for 3.5e, which is 3.5 edition of D&D, and we're now on 5th edition. So he revamped those tools slightly for 5th, but they're still incredibly inefficient. If you generate a lot of things, you'll crash the site, and they are outdated, like the rules don't always match. D&D Beyond, the one put out by Wizards of the Coast, it is a nice, simple set of tools, but a lot of the content's missing unless you pay for their books. And also, it's limited to Dungeons & Dragons, whereas we want to encapsulate all rule sets in the long run. And then Roll for Fantasy is community built, but there's no generation involved. So it's just tools for essentially painting your character or painting a map. And then Roll20 is simply for online play. We're focused on bringing people to the table. We want to build the community locally because it's there.
So we've gone out and done a fair amount of research, right? But our plan is also to try and eat up as much of those products as we can. Obviously, we're not going to take over D&D Beyond from Wizards of the Coast because that's Hasbro and that's not happening. But Donjon, for example, we've already gathered all of his tools because they're open source. We're also working on reaching out to the people that run that site. Again, it's a community-built site. Reaching out to them to see about bringing them on board and getting their tools integrated with what we're already doing. Roll20 has a different focus, but we'd love to affiliate with them at some point. And what was the other Roll for Fantasy? Is similar to Donjon. We haven't pulled their stuff down yet because it's open source, but it's a little bit more work. But we do definitely want to reach out to people that are building those kind of tools and try to sort of bring them into the fold with what we're doing.
Yes, up front.
Wonderful presentation, great focused overview. I just had two things pop in my mind. What's your current funding look like, and what's your business model? You mentioned it sounds like subscription, recurring, but what is it?
Yeah, so currently we're pre-revenue and pre-investment. So what's keeping the servers up is Trezzy and I, but Our AWS bill isn't that high yet, so we're not too worried.
AWS is where we store our servers.
Yeah. So that was that, and our revenue model. So yes, we are looking at the freemium route as one revenue stream, but we're also looking at affiliated businesses. So, for example, there's Wizards of the Coast. They have done the Dungeons and Dragons rule system. So we're looking at licensing their content and then reselling. So we would take a small percentage of what we sell, and then there are also businesses such as Hero Forge. In role-playing games, there are things called miniatures, which are miniature representations of monsters and also your characters. These sell for, on average, $30 a piece. So Hero Forge 3D prints these miniatures. Our idea is that we'll talk to them about setting up a custom API so that our character builder and monster builder integrates with their site, so you can do a one-click purchase after you've built your character or creature with their site. So that'd be
after you've built the character or creature with our site and have it printed from their site.
So yes, so then that'd be another affiliate revenue stream. So they would do the sale essentially, but we would be generating what they're selling. So we would get a percentage for that as well. Yes.
Who's your number one buyer? Is it the game master or is it the individual player?
So our biggest buyer will be the game master. Yeah. The players will essentially simply use the free tools, the group finder, the player finder, and the character creator, whereas the dungeon master will want some of our more intense procedural generation.
So the idea is to use, in your words, the players as an infection vector. So, the game masters are always playing. You need players. You can't do tabletop role-playing games without a group of players. So the idea is we get the players hooked, we build the tools to make their lives easier, and they say, hey, GM, if you use it too, that makes our lives even easier and also yours easier. So we're hoping that by providing the free tools, we can sort of hook the groups as a whole and bring them in and get the GMs to pay for the subscription.
Set up front.
I'm curious about marketing and how you reach those game masters. Do you have a plan on what are obviously the primary demographic are those GMs, but how do you reach them?
That is so actually we have an answer, which is perfect. So there are a bunch of podcasts that either play Dungeons and Dragons or other games, or simply talk about tabletop role-playing games. So we're reaching out currently to a podcast here in Madison called
Sean Kelly. He co-hosts the Gaming and BS podcast, which is a lot of fun. They talk about a lot of industry-specific things, but they have a pretty far reach. Sean is pretty close with the guys that run GameHoldCon here in town, which is one of the bigger local conventions for tabletop gaming, and then his co-host actually runs EverCon up in Green Bay, which is another really large convention in the Midwest for tabletop role-playing games. So their reach is pretty far. Our goal is to go speak with them, get on the other podcasts, as well as doing our own podcast to get the information out there. A lot of community engagement. So we've got, like I mentioned, we've hired a marketing person, Alyssa. She's doing a lot of market research for us to figure out where we should be so that we can focus on that. But then also we're going to be working on building that community engagement team so that we've got people reaching out and being a part of the community and helping us to know what the community actually wants and what we should be building.
Yes.
You guys at the beginning talked about the investment of time by the game master.
Correct.
And what I want to know is, obviously you've got to deliver value for them.
Yes.
12 hours of organizing, 4 hours of play. How is your tool going to reduce the amount of time they invest in that organizing? That's what I'm really curious about.
Yeah, so we're building a bunch of procedural generation tools and also simply builder tools. So it'll reduce the time that the GM has to spend creating specific content. I.e., like if your players are about to engage in your players are going to engage in a combat, you can set parameters like what types of creatures will be engaged in this combat, what is their moral alignment, and then we'll be able to generate content that is to your player's level. So essentially, it takes some of the work off of you to generate the world. You simply have to tell it.
But make it numerical. So you reduce that 12 hours to what? 6, 4, 2, 10?
That's a fantastic question to which we don't have an answer yet. Our goal is to reduce it as much as possible. Eventually, we want to have a single-click campaign generator. So you can hit a button and you get the whole shebang. You don't have to do anything special. If you want to say, it's Christmas, so I want Santa Claus to be the bad guy, then you could do that and then have us generate a campaign with those parameters. So the idea is that eventually we save you all of the time in terms of planning. But right now, we're trying to start out dumb, right? Our tools are good and simple. We're not planning on doing the generation just yet. It's all builders. So making it simpler for the GM to build products on their own. Next up is the generators, so that they don't have to build anything. They can just click a button. They get the resources that they need, and they can jam it into whatever they've already built. And then the final phase is one click and you're done.
And see, because I'm a fantasy sports commissioner, and with job and kids and everything, like that's, once you can communicate that to your end user, like that's the sell.
Yeah.
So to get this verified, so for not everyone who's familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, and so there are people out there that are doing this with pen and paper, pencil and paper. Part of your target market is using the computerized setup already, but there's a wide market of DMs out there that are doing this by hand.
Yep.
And you're targeting basically the old days when SAS first came out. You're like, stop using spreadsheets, stop using Excel. So that's the market you're talking to right now. Is this replace Excel, go with this online tool. So just to not for everybody who didn't know that, this is kind of all hand done. This is not typical to have this sort of tool out there. My question is, though, some of those DMs like doing that. So how are you going to get them to switch?
So we're still going to have builders. So if you want to build your content on the website, you'll still be able to do that. And we're hosting it all. So if you want to share your content with others, you can do that. We're trying to set up a community where people can share their games. They can share their campaigns. So it can be much larger than just you and your group. So we think that'll be a drive for GMs who are still doing this pen and paper to move to the platform.
Yeah, there's also, so there's going to be a good chunk of people that we're never going to convince, right? And that's totally fair, because a lot of people it's the same people who enjoy actual physical books over like an e-reader or reading something online. They like the tactile feel of pen and paper, and they like doing it that way. One of our biggest sells, though, is that you can go ahead and do that and then jam it into our project, right? Our builder is built so that you can take anything that you've already built, or you can make it up as you're going through the builder. But then once you've got it into our website, you can use that with our group management tools to say, okay, I've built this monster. Is it balanced for the characters that are playing in my campaign right now? So there's a lot of information that we can generate based on what you put into the website that you can't generate with pen and paper.
Do you still have a question?
Yeah, so just a quick question. So, so say you bring on the game master and they're able to make the game that they want to, either customized or once you have it generalized. Once they log on, are they able to keep that? So like connected to their ID or login or whatever they've created will always be out there, and they can invite anyone to come in.
Yep, it'll be persistent. Yep.
Got it.
DP?
Well, yeah, I imagine down the road, community is going to be a big part of this as well, but that's kind of a phase 2 or beyond. My question for you specifically is about minimum viable product. It sounds like you need 2, which is a end user, the guild member version, and then the minimum viable product for the game master themselves. Are you looking at it that way?
Yeah. So the minimum viable product for the game master is actually our session management. So we're partnering with igno.co here in Madison, is GameNightOn.co, which is a service to check if your game night is still on. Part of the problem with Dungeons & Dragons, playing tabletop role-playing games, is you don't always know if people are going to show up. So we're building some MVP tools simply for GMs not to manage strictly the content, but the actual engagement with their group. So that's the MVP for the GM.
for a little extra context, I have been in plenty of games where I'm not even the GM, and yet I'm handling the scheduling, right? So just the group management tools, and to be clear, we don't actually know what's going to be premium later, right? We're talking about the $15 subscription model. We know we want to go freemium. We don't know what's a part of that premium package yet. The idea is to use a bunch of data to figure that out as we build tools. But the scheduling part of the group and session management tools is going to be enough for me to want to use it. Actually, I already use it, but the scheduling is a big deal, and that's just the beginning of the group management. Just being able to find people to play with is our MVP. Being able to make money on it is a little further down the road, but yeah, the session management is pretty much our MVP.
Yes, over here.
Have you had a group of community users to maybe set up and test the product?
Yeah, so we have both played in quite a few groups. So we have a lot of contacts actually in the sphere who are using the beta. We've had when we had that the landing page up for months, we had a mail sign up. So we also had users who were waiting for the initial launch of the MVP. So yes, we have people engaged with like trying the product.
Cool.
Yes.
Can I add on to that?
Matt?
So are they in agreement, in accordance that the MVP is the group?
We're still working on building that feedback. The feedback so far is this is awesome. We can't wait until it's done. But we're also working on hiring. We're interviewing people for an in-house GM role. So we actually have somebody that we pay to say, hey, this thing is crap. You should do it better. As well as manage the community of GMs that are out there that are going to be using the tool and get that feedback for us and build it together. I think the person we most recently talked to is project manager, so we're hoping that plays into it. But yeah, we're doing, and our marketing person is out there doing market research right now. So we're trying to build the feedback. We don't have a ton of it. A lot of it is we've been playing for years and we know the pain points that we have, and so we're trying to address those. But the feedback is still a little ways off.
Wow. In the front, and then we'll move back, and then we'll go.
I don't quite understand the whole gaming concept, so sorry if this is just way off. But it seems like people are investing a large amount of time into playing the game, and these people tend to maybe have technical skills. Could you enlist your game masters that you're actually trying to get to use your app to develop it for you in kind of a collaborative effort, or are you already doing that?
So we're primarily reaching out to people who play tabletop role-playing games. Like that is our ideal, because then the people building the products also have an investment in the pain points they're trying to solve.
Yeah. It just seems like you could probably make this a collaborative tool that you control, that you let other people build for you, because it seems like there's kind of endless amount of development that could go into this.
Sure. So I'm guessing that you're bringing that up because we mentioned there's a bunch of tools that are already community developed.
No, it just seems like people are spending a lot of time
Sure.
running these games. They're investing a good portion of their life in playing them, so they must be passionate about it, so they'd probably be willing to give you a little bit of free development time to lessen their time on the back end. I don't know, maybe I'm off. Like I said, I don't 100% understand.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I think it might be on a beta tester or a beta community level. Like if you have an advisory board of GMs that like are 5 top women and men who do it and are the stat nerds who love everything about it, they can provide you valuable input. The way I look at it is you got 2 horses and you've got to be riding both at the same time in meaningful ways, the GM horse and the end user horse, because the stat nerd who is a world builder who loves to be God is not the same as the person who wants to be a chaotic evil night elf and go out and slaughter orcs, you know. I'm just saying, if you ever run into Bubba McToot, let him be me. But at any rate, you can't lose sight of those 2 horses. And your comment about enlisting them to bring them in as early adopters into this community, I think is a great one. But keep in mind, you need to have 2 of those advisory boards and beta test communities. And they can cross-fertilize, but understand the needs of the one are not the needs of the many.
Right. So, one nice thing for us, not necessarily nice for the community, but hopefully we help solve it by growing the community, is that most GMs are not GMs because they decided they wanted to be GMs. They're GMs because they wanted to play and nobody else would do it. So the players and the GMs, for the most part, are actually one and the same. Most of the people that are going to be using the GM tools also play or want to play. So hopefully that helps us out. You're not wrong. There's plenty of people out there that are like, I would rather GM all day long, and by the end of the session, I'm going to make sure all of these characters are dead. That's not uncommon, but it's a very different mindset from the regular players, right? So our goal is to build a group of people that we can reach out to and a community that we can reach out to that doesn't look like each other, right? As much diversity as we can get in there is what we're going for, so that we have all of the feedback on all of those tools. Because you're right, we have to deal with both players, and we have to deal with GMs, and we have to deal with players that are GMs, and we have to deal with GMs who don't actually want to be GMs. So we've got a lot of different groups to focus on.
I would encourage you to simplify it to 2.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Game masters and end users.
And we can talk more about that
and we will
after 1 million cups when we go grab coffee.
Do you have any evidence that these game masters have a propensity to spend $15 a month on making their lives easier?
So GMs already spend money where it makes their life easier. Like buying minis, like that's not something you have to do for the game, but it's something that makes the visualization of what's happening in combat easier. So they're willing to spend money already for things that make the game easier for them to handle. So we believe that if we reduce the time they need to spend building their world and building each session, then they'll see value in it.
Are the minis just a one, I don't know what that is, but is that a one-time purchase of a figurine? Is that what you're talking about?
So
That's pretty much exactly what it is, yeah.
Well,
okay, so you're paralleling a one-time purchase of an item to a recurring subscription. So there's...
Well,
Yeah.
so...
But if it's a player that is only a game master because no one else is willing to do it, and what they really ultimately want to do is play the game, I can see how someone would want to make their lives easier and pay money to be able to play faster.
I like when people answer my question.
To address your point and your question a little bit more. So that's true. The minis are a one-time purchase for each one. But if you walk into most GM's closets, they've got stacks and stacks of boxes full of these things. So it's a one-time purchase for one of them, but they're constantly building this collection. Because when I go play or I go run a game for my group that has a cleric in it, I want to have skeletons for him to kill, right? And if all I've got is goblins, I'm going to go out and buy some more minis. That is a really, really common sentiment. So they're willing to spend money. Not all of them are willing to spend money, but you've got a ton of expenses that go on to be a GM beyond the minis, right? You're also buying dice, you're buying books and supplements, you're buying maps, you're buying all manner of different products to try and make your life easier. And more importantly, to make the world more immersive, because people aren't really doing this. Well, most GMs aren't doing this because they, the main reason most GMs are doing this is because they like storytelling. They want to build a world, and they want to play in a world that's immersive, and they want to make sure that their players feel like this is real, right? So a lot of that is spending money on these different things to make it easier. A lot of our tools are focused on making it easier to make it immersive, so you can spend less time focusing on, does this orc make sense in the middle of this suburban neighborhood, and more time focusing on, are my players having fun? Does that answer any better? Okay.
In the back?
So, can you describe sort of the advantage of a campaign generator versus so many of the pre-written campaigns that are out there that people have actually done ahead of time and then put online either for free or for like a subscription model or per campaign or whatever?
So the end goal is to be able to generate a campaign, but there are a lot of tools there simply to build your world. You may want to generate an entire campaign simply because you want to play something that's never been played before. You want to give your players a world that's never been thought of. So the end goal of having a campaign generator is simply that it's something completely new. It's like modules are put out yearly, maybe, and that all depends on the rule system. Like GURPS doesn't have any official campaigns. I don't believe 7th Sea has any official campaigns. Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinders are kind of exceptions to that. So having a generator for these other games is going to change the dynamic of what's available.
And one last question. What is the interface for tabletop gaming specifically? Do people print out their character sheets at home and correct them by paper? Does everybody pull out a smartphone and have like their app with all the attributes and the hit points and whatnot listed on them?
Depends on the group. There's some, I've played in groups that say, no laptops at the table. That's just how it is. We all use pencil and paper. But I've also played at groups where I have my laptop set up and an iPad and my character sheet, and I'm using all of them at the same time because there's a lot to manage when you're playing in most games, in Dungeons and Dragons. Some of them are simple. That doesn't matter. The point is that, one of our ideas is to try and make the character sheet, which is a pretty vital component of any rule set, to make it simpler to use by providing some interfaces through the website that you can, if you're using your iPad or your laptop or whatever, you can say, all right, I'm in combat now. I'm going to go to my combat screen so I can see just the things that matter for combat, and I'm in the middle of a negotiation, so I need to know what my skills are, so I'm going to go to that screen. But then we also want to make it easier to say, all right, I've built my character here, I can't have my laptop at the table, I'm going to hit print, and I'm going to get my character sheet the way that I've always seen it before, the way that I expect it to be.
We have time for maybe one more question, and then you can assail them.
Oh yeah, our timeline for generating all of these tools are on our webpage, and Matt, you're the last question.
Is anybody working on digitizing tabletop in the AR VR space, and what do you see like that in terms of impacting these currently group experiences where you kind of just get together and tell a story, but then if you think about actually getting real avatars and getting real people in a digital world, where does that lie?
So that's a hard question to answer because the line gets really fuzzy. What you're talking about is really just video games, right? We can do a lot of this creation in the website and with pencil and paper and whatever, but the experience, especially what we're going for, is getting people to the table, getting people to meet in person. I hate social media. So, of course, we're building partially a social network, but still, the goal is to get people to meet in person. We're trying to get them offline, right? So there's definitely plenty of people in the AR, VR, XR, whatever space, but they're really building video games, which is a different experience from what we're aiming for. The community we're aiming for are the ones that want to get to the table, the ones that want to meet in person, the ones that want to go down to their local game shop and say, hey, I just met these random people online, let's get together at a table and play. Rather than the people who want to sit at home and play on their Xbox, right?
Sure.
Great. Well, I have these for the two of you, and a third for you to pass out to...
Do I get a second one?
Sure. That's fine. Share it with,
Or you can give it out.
Here you are. Oh yeah, you could give both of them out.
Oh, there we go.
We did have a lot of
All right.
questions.
You want to give one? I'll give one. All right, Steve.
I want to give it to DP, but I feel like he has quite a few.
I got one last week.
He said he's trying to build a collection, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the back.
Right on. Well, thanks.